me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
Therapeutic recreation is basically being on the rec side of life, but also using some kind of putting together a therapy plan for these patrons to be able to establish or get to their highest level quality life for them. Everybody's level is different based on their capacity and ability. And we use recreation therapy to help them, create the plans, reach their goals to get to that, whether it just be, going out and conquering, being out in public. And it really just, rec therapy helps create a safe environment and atmosphere for them to try things and conquer those things.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. We are a media company exclusively focused on parks and recreation, elevating and amplifying the incredible work being done in communities every day. Today, we're honored to feature Cynthia Crawford, a visionary leader who has dedicated her career to shaping public spaces and serving communities. Cynthia's journey began in San Bernardino, where she pioneered therapeutic recreation, creating transformative programs like a prom for the special needs community, offering unique opportunities for celebration and connection. She also helped bring public safety games, snow events, and even Christmas in July to the community, making parks a safe and vibrant place for families. Later, as director in Palm Springs, Cynthia navigated unprecedented challenges, creatively shifting services outdoors during COVID-19. Now in Rialto, Cynthia continues to champion inclusivity, notably with the Viva la Fiesta event, a celebration of diverse Latin cultures that connects the community with vital resources. Join us as we explore the incredible impact of Parks and Rec through Cynthia's experiences, demonstrating how these essential services enrich lives and build stronger communities every day. Let's dive in. Okay, we are live again. This is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman with the Daily Parks and Rec Show, creating media for the Parks and Rec industry. As far as I know, we're the only media company exclusively focused on parks and recreation. We saw that need, and I went and said that it would be a good idea. And as we all are familiar enough with Parks and Rec, when you come with an idea, you usually get assigned to do that. So that's kind of where I find myself. But we have a special guest from Rialto, California. Cynthia, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you about you being an instructor for facilities maintenance. But before we get started, we're going to play our little promo commercial for this very media company to show everybody how it all ties together and what we're trying to build, and then we'll come right back with Cynthia. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day. All right, so now we're back with Cynthia. Cynthia, Can you give us maybe a little bit of backstory of how you got into Parks and Rec? And I can't remember if you told me if you were like a park rat, or you're just born in it, or
I
if you got
wasn't actually. So
okay,
I
so you found
wasn't
it
a Parks
later.
and Rec kid at all.
Mm,
So growing up, the only thing I really did competitive sports wise was swim team because I had
mm,
severe asthma, and so the doctor said you can do that because the water will help keep your lungs open. But I didn't even know my city had a Parks and Rec center until I was probably a senior when I was going to grad parties to
mm,
celebrate my friends, right? And then at the time, I wanted to be a physical therapist, so that's what I was going to go to college for, right? I went to finish my swim career at the JC because I didn't really want the pressures of a university, but I wanted to, just finish it out for myself. So when I went to the counselor, I said, I want to be a physical therapist slash business owner. And they're like, yeah, no problem. Oh, you're a swimmer. Perfect. We'll put you in recreation. And I was just like, okay. Um, so I started doing the classes and I didn't know any better. My mother wasn't able to help me navigate through the school process because she hadn't gone to college. So I was just riding the wave, right? I was trusting the counselors. And so went through the program, transferred to Cal State Long Beach, still didn't know what I was going to do with it because none of it said physical therapy, but
mhm.
and then for orientation at Cal State Long Beach, I met Meredith Jansen, who was a recreation therapist. And that's when it found me, right? That's when it clicked
Wow.
on, oh my God, this is what I'm going to do.
Mm,
And so I finished out, Cal State Long Beach, got my bachelor's, got my certificate in therapeutic recreation, and then went and got hired with the city of San Bernardino, where I ran a facility that's designed 100% for the special needs community, where my youngest was 6 months old and my oldest was
mm.
94, 96 at the time.
How old were you then?
I was 23, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so all, the college kids listening to this program, notice how she was completely lost. That's normal. Don't
Yes.
panic, and she
Yes.
still found her way. Um, okay, so alright, so you're 23, and now you're in what did those days look like? You were put in charge of a program or a facility or
It was programs at the time. There was a manager there, but I was in charge of the after school program. I was in charge of making sure that, the other programs had what they needed. Because I was the only rec therapist on site, I was just, there to ensure that, the assessments were getting done, that we had a plan for our clients, and that we helped them reach their goal through play, right? And really, some of the things that I started doing was thinking about what kind of opportunities could I create for them that they wouldn't normally have, because they have this disability. And one of my favorite programs that still operates today is the prom, where we offer the opportunity for them to come dressed up, get the corsage or the boutonniere. They do their dancing, we crown king and queen, but then the parents also get to dance with their child, because most of them aren't going to get married, and so they're not going to really get to experience that, right?
yeah.
So it was just a really neat opportunity for me to just help create these um, special opportunities and moments through recreation and leisure.
Mm. What
So
now, where did that early idea come from? Was that already in existence, or did you come up with that?
no, so they weren't doing prom at that time. We
Mm,
would do field trips into the community, mostly to just go eat. Every now and then we would. The older group got to go to Disneyland.
mhm.
And so things just kind of started evolving. I wasn't a mom just yet, but I wanted to make sure that, you know, these families had these opportunities that I knew I got to have and I was going to have.
Right.
I wanted to provide meaning for not just the patron there, but their families as well. So,
Mhm.
I think at the end of the day, in Parks and Rec, as long as you can, think and create the idea, you can figure out how to make it come to
Yeah.
life.
And this you said this was under therapeutic recreation?
Mhm.
Okay, can you define what therapeutic recreation is for those that are kinda new to the industry?
Oh, it's been a long time, but okay, let's see. Therapeutic recreation is basically, you know, being on the rec side of life, but also using, you know, some kind of putting together a therapy plan for these patrons to be able to establish or get to their highest level quality life for them, right? Everybody's level is different based on their capacity and ability. And we use recreation therapy to help them, create the plans, reach their goals to get to that, high quality life for them, whether it just be, going out and conquering being out in public, right? Going to a restaurant. I've worked with a variety of different kids and families where one kid in particular, his family, if they wanted to go to the beach, they had to pack cardboard because he didn't want to touch the sand. And so through, rec therapy, we were able to get him to now where he doesn't have to do those things and he can put his, feet in the sand. And it really just, rec therapy helps create a safe environment and atmosphere for them to try things and conquer those things too. Not be so, whatever their issue is, whether it's sensory overload and whatnot, to just trust the process to be able to get there.
Can you maybe describe some of the groups or buckets of people that are just maybe what are your top 5 common people that fit inside that category, just to kind of help people understand the people you're serving?
Yeah. So when I was there, we did have 26 different identified disabilities, but
There
the
we go.
most common, the most common were autism, Down syndrome, and it's probably not called this anymore, but mental retardation were probably our primary 3. But there were a lot of other different things. Cerebral palsy, it could be somebody who was an amputee. So it was just this wide array. And I think what's super special about rec therapy is we had to figure out how to program for all of them at the same time and make it work. And so being at all these different levels really challenged staff to how do we make this as inclusive as possible?
Now, do y'all ever categorize people that are maybe financially or they can't get a ride, or maybe they're older, or does that fit? Maybe the older crowd fits in the senior category, or I'm trying to figure out how y'all categorize all the different ways that you're helping people.
So we did have a lot of that. The school, the transportation for some people was an issue. My facility was considered a regional center, so it served not just the people in my city, but people around the region. And so we would help families with their school bus transportation issues to get them transported to our facility, and then parents would pick them up. There's also public transportation that will pick them up directly where they're at and drop them off specifically at our space, so they don't have to really ride the public bus system and potentially get lost. So there are options out there. But none of those things were limitations to be able to participate, right? Even our seniors, we had aquatics programs, and they would figure out, am I carpooling? Am I coming through, the bus? And, now you got Uber and Lyft and things like that. So I think there's a variety of reasons, but the program was important enough for them to want to come to socialize and see their friends while also getting a service.
So maybe getting there and then being able to afford the program might be one bucket, but then I guess therapeutic recreation focuses on once they're there, once they're in the program, how do we, make sure that they're not excluded or left out in some way?
We also made sure that, irregardless of what your socioeconomic status was, you could still participate. So, we had programs that they could participate where it would be donation based. If you can, you can. And if you can't, you can't. That doesn't mean you can't come play. But I think at the end of the day, the programs that, you did have to pay a fee for, it was like no more than $1, maybe 30 a day.
Yeah.
And there's programs out here in California where the Inland Regional Center would help pay for those things so that the patrons could come, or we would have scholarship programs. So either way, we figured out how to make it work for everybody.
Yeah. Now, just out of personal curiosity, because I have a 1-year-old granddaughter that's Down syndrome, what kind of programs did y'all offer for the Down syndrome community?
So just, our after school program, we had a couple of kids, but really anything and everything. They participate in the community outings. We do arts, we do, sports outside. So it's literally like your regular after school program, just geared to our disabled community. And we, whether it was, we help them with hand over hand modality type of activities, we modified equipment for them. It's still just come out and play, and we'll figure out how to make it work for you.
Now, I'm curious, in Louisiana, we have a huge population of homeschooling kids. So they really don't have after school. Well, I guess they could school at home, but then would y'all allow, do y'all have a big homeschooling population there in California? Or is it, I think it's smaller over there. I'm not sure.
I think it's smaller. I've only met a few kids here and there who have done it.
Mhm.
I think during COVID, we probably had a little bit more,
Yeah.
but they usually end up coming back to just the regular school system because
Mhm.
the homeschooling, criteria is a lot for some of these parents, especially if they're working.
Right.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how long did you do that for? You said at 23 you started
So
in that.
I was the rec therapist for about 9 years, and then I
Mhm.
promoted in that department to be the rec manager, and then I took on, 6 more facilities, citywide events, and then shortly thereafter, I was promoted to deputy director,
Oh,
where
wow.
I took on the admin, division, and then, parks maintenance, I provided them support.
Mm.
A little bit after that, I ended up leaving and going to the city of Palm Springs, where I became the director of Parks and Recreation there.
Mhm.
And then a little while after that, I came to the city of Rialto, where I've been here almost for 4 years. So,
Yeah. And so wait, is that the same Palm Springs that Nick is running
mhm,
now?
yeah.
Was he right after you or a few
No, there
away?
was, I think, one previous director before Nick got there.
Yeah, shout out to Nick. We had him on the show. It's an amazing program they have. They have, I
Mhm,
think, 200. He told me 200 special events a year. Just crazy.
mhm.
For those of you complaining about special events, call Nick and cry to him. Um, okay, so along the journey, what did you do to kind of add, you know, as you're moving towards becoming a director? Was there some ongoing education that put
Yeah.
yourself in?
Yeah, I never thought I would be a Parks and Rec director. It really wasn't something that I was like, "Oh, that's what I'm gonna do." I really
Mhm.
thought I was just gonna be a rec therapist for the rest of my career, and I was gonna retire out that way. In 2008, when the recession happened and I couldn't be the protective covering over my particular facility, I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta do something a little bit different so I can have a voice at the table." And so I decided, let me go get my master's. And so I went and got my master's. And then shortly thereafter, her name was Glenda. She retired out and she was like, "You have to apply for this position. You could really do some great things." And I was like, I don't know. But I ended up applying. And then, I went from being a part of the peer system to now leading the peers. And then, just bringing the team back to life after the recession. And, at one point, when the city of San Bernardino, we were going through bankruptcy and our goal was to just open the doors. It wasn't to do much of anything else. It was just to provide a safe space for people to come and just hang out. But once we started exiting bankruptcy, we really started focusing on how can we bring our programs and our parks and our events back to life. And that was really the goal. So we brought a couple of different things on. We did public safety games versus our community, which was fun. We played, PD, fire, the National Guard, a bunch of different organizations to just try to build a better relationship with our community and those organizations. Um, the kids won just about, I think they won all of the games. I think they played probation as well, but it was fun
Mhm.
because they really got to meet, the different law enforcement, public safety organizations and really get to know them in a different way.
Mhm.
So that if they did need help, they weren't so hesitant. We brought snow to the Inland Empire. That was fun. We took them on trips to Knott's Berry Farm or Raging Waters. Um, so, as long as we could figure out how to create these crazy opportunities, we tried to bring it to the community. I think a couple of summers we brought Christmas in July. Obviously, San Bernardino, there are a lot of the communities low income. And so we were able to bring them, through another organization, Christmas gifts in July, different, just a variety of different opportunities for them to be able to come do things for free at the park as a family or for families to feel safe with their kids coming to our places to play.
Mhm. Now, tell me a little bit more. Just, I know this is kind of off topic a little, but I'm trying to talk more about bankruptcy because And I don't know your involvement in it, but maybe if you can remember how long it took, maybe even what caused it, if there was a few causes you could point to, and then how long did it take y'all to get through it, and
Yeah.
then you were part of kind of bringing it back.
Yeah. So as far as causes, I can't really touch on that. I was still very young in my career.
Mhm.
But going through it was definitely tough. I mean, we had discussions about, we need to buy these certain things so we can provide the service, but we don't know if vendors are going to get paid.
Mhm.
So for me, it was, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. So what I asked my team to do was become, secure donations from the community and the businesses so we could provide these services. I know at one point, very early on, I did a walkathon for my program and we raised $8,000.
Oh, wow.
So with money like that, I was able to buy materials and supplies or pay for things that, we needed for the program without having to worry about spending, whatever money we did have in the city. So we were creative with our fundraising. We were creative with our partnerships in the community. And then, once we really started laying down the path of what it was going to look like to exit bankruptcy, things started to get a lot better for us. And so we had the funds internally in general fund to be able to purchase and do all these things. Definitely careful with how we spent our dollars, trying to make them go as far as we could.
Mhm.
'Cause coming from having nothing or not knowing if things were going to get paid for was scary.
Mhm.
Um, but we still showed up every day to, go out, do the job, and do what we could for that community.
Mm. Now, are there any lessons that you took away? I know a lot of people are afraid of bankruptcy, but sometimes that's the healthiest thing you can go through,
I
'cause it
think so. I think for me, I really figured out how to be a hustler in the community to get what we need without necessarily spending a lot of money.
Mhm.
Creating those meaningful relationships and partnerships that will benefit not only the business but the city and the community. And then just also um, being as creative as possible with not, spending a lot of money.
Mhm. Now, are there any, standouts on the creative partnerships that we could highlight, that you found during those times?
Um, there was this organization that had reached out to us from Florida. I don't think they're intact anymore, but they were called the Kids Network.
Mhm.
And they were the ones who helped us bring Christmas in July. And so
Mm.
we had over 1,500 kids in the community that came in. They got lunch, they got toys, some of them got clothes. They got to interact with our public safety organizations. They got to, dance and just have a good time. That was awesome. And then just our local businesses, our everyday mom and pops, right? Because they've been in the community forever. They understood the significance of the service that we were providing and they wanted to be a part of that. So when we had like Veterans Day, one of the local restaurants would donate the food to feed the veterans on that day. And so that was,
Mm.
I didn't have to worry about having to hustle for money for those things because I knew Albert from One Boy was always going to take care of that for us. So,
Oh, I love it. I
yeah.
love it. And there are countless. I think once you start looking, you like you said, you do get creative with your fundraising opportunities, and
Mhm.
involving the community is a way that you can survive these moments till things get back on your feet. But you still get all those lessons you learned in bankruptcy, so now you have those lessons, plus maybe your finances are a little more stable.
Yeah.
Alright, so your director, day 1, what did that look like? Maybe year 1 even, first time.
In Palm Springs or Rialto?
Um, well, let's do both. Your first time at Palm Springs,
Oh,
and
Palm
now at
Springs
Rialto.
was crazy. So we had this really crazy rainstorm the first week that I started in Palm Springs, and we like, oh, I couldn't go home that night. The roads were closed. There was flooding. We were expecting a mountain to fall down, so we were opening up basically our pavilion to be a Red Cross receiving facility for those who needed some shelter. Um, and I literally had to like tell my staff, like, hey, so we're gonna have to work a 24-hour operation. Here's your hours, here's your hours, here's your hours. I'll be here for these.
Mhm.
Call my husband, tell him, hey, I'm not gonna be able to come home tonight. This is what's happening. So that was very interesting for my
Yeah,
first week. And then we go into COVID, right?
yeah.
So I think I started working in in Palm Springs in 2019. We go into COVID, and now we have to figure out,
wow,
how do we show our city officials and our city manager how we are a relevant service and a priority for this community. And so, all the facilities were closed. We were trying to figure out what services we could provide to our community. So we hooked up with an organization to help make masks for our nurses and doctors, firemen, PD officers. And so we had our facilities, working around the clock to make these masks before, the big mask order really was happening. We were out helping deliver those things. And then eventually we talked about bringing a mobile rec operation to life once we could go back out to the parks and play, right? So every service that we ended up providing indoors, we had to figure out how to provide outdoors. And in Palm Springs, it's super hot. So we had to figure out how to be creative with that. We brought special events outside. We did a drive-through Halloween event. We brought water play to one of our low income areas, which was super fun. We met them at the pool, and then we literally drove around to all of their houses and did a water war type of play. For summer camp, we created these boxes where we dropped them off at all of their houses. We did the programming on Zoom, but they had all the materials. And then at the end of summer, we went out and had water fights at all of their houses. We would take our team, drive to their houses, play, and then go to the next house.
Nice. I love it.
And then we really brought our social media to life at that time. So we were doing, Wacky Wednesday exercise classes. We were doing arts and crafts where you could come and pick up your craft packet and then do it at home with us. There was just a variety of things that we were doing to just, one, stay relevant, provide a service to the community, even though we couldn't be together. So that was interesting. So all of the things I got to learn in my 13 years in San Bernardino, in 2 years got to really put that to work as a director. So it was crazy, but we did it.
Yeah, I love that you said that our social media really took off, because I guess the foundation of this very show started when we were locked up and we couldn't communicate with anybody. Everybody was on Zoom. Everybody just figured out what Zoom was. And so we started Parks and Rec Done Right, a Facebook group that grew up to like 4,700 members. And if it weren't for COVID, we would have never started that. And then eventually it became the Daily Parks and Rec Show. But for those of you looking to cut Parks and Rec as the discretionary expenses, remember that Parks and Rec is typically the only property that can house FEMA, Red Cross, the firemen.
All of the things.
The cities have no other property to stage from but Parks and Rec. It's not like they're going to stage it from City Hall or the police station.
Right.
So
I think COVID really showed us that, Parks and Rec went from a luxury to a necessity, and really brought it back into perspective on, dang, we really need and appreciate and value these services. And so what was crazy in Palm Springs at the time when we were going through, because Palm Springs is a touristic city, right? And we were talking about budget cuts, and we did the furloughs, and then we had to present, what staff are essential. So I was able to provide 3 different versions of a plan on, this is what it looks like if you completely cut us because you think we're not, non-essential. This is what it looks like if we half staff it, and this is what we look like if you keep it on, and this is what we can do with it. And our council really stepped up and kept us intact, and I didn't have to lay anybody off.
Now, were you part of the 200 special events? Was that under your watch or some version of that? So what was that
like? It was. So
the
manager, her name is Jasmine Waits. She oversees the permits processing, putting on the events. I think, there's a lot of different organizations that come through Palm Springs, and they go through her, division for permitting, but she brings together all of the different departments that are needed for the final approval, right? There's definitely a lot of events that department puts on itself, but then there's these large organizations that we collaborate with in order to make them happen as well. Um, and it was a lot when I first got there. I was like, "Oh, splash party, what's that? Let me, do the ride along with PD," because we had to go check all these different pools where these, pool parties are happening. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy." Okay, but it's clearly, something that's desired because it brings in a lot of people from different areas.
Mhm.
You have white party, you have pride, you had every Thursday we did farmers market, and there was about, 200 vendors there. Uh,
Wow.
and the streets are full and packed, and it's still like 5,000 degrees outside, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." But the team was talented, and, Jasmine had the support of the entire department to do great things.
Mhm.
And you'd never know that at that time we were only the size of 30 employees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Has Palm Springs has always been somewhat of a tourist destination, right?
Mhm.
What's the cause of that? What's the big attractor?
I would say it's probably like the old historic look, all the movie stars that live there. You have
Mhm.
some really awesome architectural stuff that happens within some of those houses in the community.
Mhm.
Um, it's great weather in the winter.
Uh-huh.
You get a lot of the snowbirds from like Canada or other really cold places that come to stay for about 3 months. And during that time, it's like living in Santa Barbara without the ocean.
Mm.
And Palm Springs really is a Santa Barbara without the ocean, with the exception of summer when it's over 100, 20 degrees.
Yeah.
But the people are nice. They're friendly communities. They want to be out riding their bikes. Dogs are a huge thing out there. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've got my little mascot right here. She's, she'll sound off if the mailman comes. Okay, so now how long were you there?
I was there for 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And then what motivated the transition over to Rialto?
So I think for me personally, my love has always been with helping, disadvantaged communities and the youth.
Mm.
Palm Springs really isn't disadvantaged. They definitely taught me a lot about leadership and being a director and leading through, crazy, chaotic times, COVID.
Mhm.
But there was an opening to come back this way, and I jumped at it. I live in Beaumont, which is halfway between both cities.
Mhm.
um, and my kids were, my oldest was in high school, and a lot of his sports um, activities were going to be more in the area for like Rialto. So for me, it was portion career and the portion personal.
Mhm.
But I really enjoy working in the Inland Empire. So
Yeah. Now where does that come from, the Inland Empire? I haven't heard that before. It's,
you
local?
I don't really know. I'm
Mhm.
not originally from the Inland Empire. I ended out here because of the job in San Bernardino. I am an immigrant. I'm from Mexico. I came here when I was 5, but I'm from the
Mm.
Central Coast, which is, Lompoc, Santa Barbara area. Nobody ever really knows where Lompoc's at, so I always say Santa
Uh-huh.
Barbara. But that's where I came from.
Ah, what part of Mexico did your family come from?
Guadalajara.
Is that central Mexico, or is that kinda Yucatan Peninsula
No,
area?
I think it's more central.
Okay. Um, okay, so that's crazy. So most people, I guess, maybe wanna end up in Palm Springs, but you had a desire to really serve the underserved communities and kind of put your career that way. Does that just come from your upbringing, or what kinda?
I think so. I think coming from the third world country and, seeing a lot of that, some of that community not have things
Mhm.
really kind of fed my spirit and my soul. And, I think naturally I'm a giver. And
Mhm.
so I want to be able to give, resources and opportunities and, help you get to your dreams. So for me, I think it's very easy alignment for
Mhm.
me.
Yeah. And so I wanna make sure we kinda weave this in the conversation as far as, um, you know, what Parks and Rec do to reach out to the different cultures that they serve, because assuming y'all have a very large Latino culture, which sometimes can either maybe the language or maybe you just host a festival that kind of speaks to their culture a little bit. Is there anything you can say about how Parks and Rec serves the different cultures?
Um, I think we try to serve everybody who's in our community.
Mhm.
Yes, there is definitely a large Latino population. One of the things that we try to do is obviously, plan and meet the need. Excuse me. When I first got here, we ended up creating an event called Viva la Fiesta, and it happens in September. But I didn't want to tie it specifically to like Hispanic or to Mexican Independence Day, because there's several Independence Days that line up right after the other.
Mm.
I wanted it to be inclusive and not just focus on one particular Latin culture. But for that particular event, we also partner with the consulate so that they can come out and bring out information for those who are looking for things, whether it's, hey, I don't have my a copy of my birth certificate, but I would like to, right? We try to make sure that we connect with the school district so that we can make sure that, all of that information is out there. Usually the school district comes out. Last year they had, I want to say, like 5 to 10 information booths, whether it covered, their nutrition program, their literacy program, or other resources that they provide. And then just talking to the community and listening to what it is that they are looking for and need, and figuring out how can we connect them to those things. Do we bring it to the facility and offer classes? Do we bring it to the event and offer it as a resource information? It's just trying to, keep that open communication with the community so we can figure out how to fill those voids for them.
Yeah, I'm so glad that y'all kind of didn't make it all about maybe Mexican Independence Day, because I know at least where I'm at, it seems like we always label all Latinos just Mexican.
Right.
But I just Googled it. There's 33 nations that fit Latino. Yeah. And they all have their own culture. A close friend of mine actually helps me produce this show, Gabriel Murillos from Murillo, as he would say it, from Colombia, and totally different culture out there. It really is quite a diverse cultural experience.
It is, and they each have so many different things to offer, from their food to their drinks to their arts to just everything. So to be able to offer an event where it can all come together and we can all learn about each other, and the community, can just learn, dibble, dabble. I mean, some families whose kids are born here, they'll never get to experience some of those things, but we can bring things like that to the event for them to kind of really know and understand.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to play a quick promo for our Thursday show. It's all about youth sports with our host, Aaron Locks. He's the owner of the National Academy of Athletics. But we put a Thursday show every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, all about coaching and how we use rec sports to really teach a lot of generational wisdom. And I'm glad that you said, you couldn't do a lot of sports, and here you are in leadership. And unfortunately, a lot of sports is just focused on those that could get a college scholarship, but that's such a tiny section of kids.
Yeah.
And so if we only focus on the ones that are going to be the championship, whatever, all the way through college, then we're excluding over 99% of children will never, get a college scholarship for athletics. And a lot of that happens inside of Parks and Rec programming. So let's go ahead and run this, and then we'll talk about that a little bit.
At DPRS Media Co., we don't just create content. We elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped, not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. And powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
Cynthia, what do y'all offer as far as rec sports, or do y'all have anything for that?
We do. We actually are a very big sports community. So, and you mentioned it earlier, A lot of sports programs out there want to just cater to those who are going to be D1,
Mhm.
athletes and try to go pro. Here in Rialto, my mission and vision is to make sure that we're providing the rec opportunity for
Mhm.
everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so we internally provide a very robust basketball and girls volleyball program, and then we have several different leagues who take on the additional, the higher elevated sports desire for those patrons.
Yeah.
So we make sure we don't cross over into their area because I want to make sure I'm very specific with just serving the rec portion of that sport, whether it's just introductions, teaching you fundamentals, learning how to play so you can get to that next level if you want to go.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, we use our sports program to teach them about the good sportsmanship, the fundamentals, right? How to listen to your coach and be coachable,
Right.
how to have a good time and, enjoy the time you're having out here meeting new friends. Our basketball program is very competitive, but there's times where I do have to like bring it back and say, no, this is what our main focus is. And sometimes our parents are like, we're here because we really like this competitive portion of the program. That's fine. However, that's not our priority.
Right.
And so I think in the last, 3 years, we've really seen that culture really change. Because when I first got here, I was like, oh my gosh, this basketball game is so stressful. I can't do this. This is not how it's supposed to be. And so between, the team that leads it, they've done a lot of work to really start setting some boundaries with, the parents' code of conduct. What is our expectation for when you're here cheering on your child? We definitely don't want to breed any kind of negative culture that's not going to make it fun for them and ruin it for them in the future. So we've spent a lot of time really kind of just restructuring it so we can make it that. And I
Yeah.
think we're reaching a really great place finally to where the parents are understanding that.
Yeah.
Our girls volleyball program is amazing. I don't have enough space, and so within the first 30 minutes of registration, that program is full, and I'll have anywhere from 50 to 100 girls on a waiting list.
Mm.
Definitely collaborate with the school district for additional space. My dream is to have my current gym extended so I can have 2 or 3 additional courts added, or using a warehouse to provide those services internally and also make it a rental space where we can do some revenue generation for the city.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking as I was a D1 athlete. Well, I don't know if you count cheerleading, but I got a full scholarship to Kentucky uh, for cheerleading of all things. But none of my children were. I put them all in sports and cross country and volleyball and some other stuff, mainly because I wanted them to have all those coaching lessons that I took with me throughout life. Because to me, that's the most valuable thing about sports is the life lessons, not necessarily the scholarship or the championship that they might get.
Yeah, we've had a couple situations where, when I first got here, it was they could pick the coach they wanted to play.
Mhm.
And I said, but that's not teaching them anything because all these coaches have something to offer. So we stopped
Mhm.
that. Um, And, there was a lot of pushback at first, but I think now they're in a better place where they're like, "Oh, man, I guess you're right. There are these other skills that these coaches have to offer my kid." And it translates to school and it translates to their other sides of life. And so if we can give you safe space to do it here, I'd rather do it here than them have a rude awakening somewhere else and not be as successful.
Yeah.
We do also have, we call it Tiny Tots programming. So we'll do for a month, we'll do basketball, next month, soccer, so on and so forth. But then there's twice during the year, I believe, where we offer that month where each week is a different sport so they can really kind of see, oh, I like basketball better than soccer. And then they can sign up for those programs there. We make sure that we offer all of the league's contact information in our magazine that we put out to the community. So once you're done with rec sports with us, you can continue on and try to further that sports career if you'd like.
Yeah.
Uh, we give the leagues, space to do their programming out of, and we have a really great relationship with them as well. So
Yeah. I would say shout out to Mr. Raggi, but he's dead. He was my first boss in Parks and Rec, but he ran a little league called Sure Shot, and it was 8 basketball teams And at the beginning of each season, they would make sure that the teams were pretty equal. So there was no way to know which team was going to win. And there wasn't a team that just got all the winners on one. But I loved that, every team pretty much had a shot at winning their little championship because the talent was pretty much equally distributed. Do
Yeah.
y'all have similar to that, or how do y'all
Yeah.
kind of your teams?
So when I first came in, we were doing a draft and then kind of seeing what was happening with the draft, where some teams were heavily stacked versus others. We ended up taking a step back from that. The staff now works on putting stuff together. That still, has a little bit of unbalance, but we try to do it as fair as possible based off assessments. But when you have people who don't show up to assessments, it makes it hard.
Yep.
So actually, this coming up season for the fall, what we're trying is you can't register for the basketball program unless you come to assessments. So that's going to do two things for us. It's either going to bring in new players who haven't been able to play before because they get stuck on waiting lists, or everybody's going to show up to this assessment because they want to register for this program. And we've seen, for registration days, lines start at like 3:45 a.m.
Wow.
or 7 a.m. registration.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, but the goal again is to address the parents' concerns about making sure that the teams are balanced. So
I love it.
you know how that goes.
Yeah, it can get pretty dicey when you have all these parents getting involved. But
Yeah.
okay, so I can't believe we're at the 43-minute mark. We haven't even talked about facilities maintenance. So tell me about you being an instructor in facilities maintenance. First of all, how did you get into facilities maintenance instruction?
So this will be my first year as an instructor. So let me back up. When I first came to Rialto, Parks Maintenance was located under Public Works. Part of my negotiation was I need Parks Maintenance with me because Parks and Rec are like peanut butter and jelly. They belong together.
Yeah.
And so they said, sure. And so maintenance obviously is not my forte. So I was looking for training programs that I could go enroll in so I could better understand the team, speak their language so that I could help them get the resources that they needed to do their job. And I found this program through CPRS, which is California Parks and Recreation Society. And it was called Maintenance Management School, and it's a 3-year program. It's 3 to 5 years, depending on what you're looking for. But so the first year really covers, if we're mowing, what are the resources and time that it's going to need? What is the cost going to be? And really kind of helping you put together that budget plan for your department on the cost of what all of the maintenance is really going to be, right? Whether it's grass, the facilities, upkeep, whatnot. The second year focuses more on that supervisory leadership, how to put, the remainder of your budget together, how to justify it and defend it in front of council, public speaking, all of those things. And then the third through fifth year focuses more on, who you are as a person and trying to make sense of the world while leading. So I finished the 3 years. And it was funny because the instructors, they all knew I was a director and they're like, are you learning anything from year 2 and year 3? And for me, it was, well, it's not year 2 and year 3 isn't so much for me to learn. Apparently it was more to kind of help guide those who were in my group and give them the opportunity and help nurture and develop them. And so that was awesome. So for me, I had to figure out how to turn those 2 years into something where I could be helpful for the class and the group, because I obviously do those things in my profession every day. And so then they had 2 openings and they were like, we need people to apply. And so I decided to apply. And I was one of the people selected. And so I will be teaching year 2, which is, budget, leadership, public speaking, all of the forte things for me. But I also make it a point to send my staff through this program. So I have 3 staff that are enrolled this year. Each one of them will be in a different year. But it's really awesome to see the things that they're taking back from it. Understanding that there is a story to tell based off the work that they're doing. And now they understand the story that I have to turn around and tell to council in order to justify the funding requests, right? Or, is there a better way to do something versus something else? And now you get to come together with all these cities and talk about what they do. How have you dealt with it? This is how we dealt with it. So it's a really great program. I'm really excited to be a part of it with, being an instructor this year.
How many instructors are there?
So year 1 has 4, year 2 has 4, and year 3 has 2.
Okay.
So there's
and the reason I'm asking is we have a facilities maintenance show that there's so much content to cover there, and we're trying to make a 4-day-a-week show, and we usually hit about 2, maybe 3 days a week. But I'm really trying to understand how facilities maintenance is taught. Some guests I've had on there, we've literally talked for 2 hours. I had to have 2 shows just on project management. We're probably going to have an entire show dedicated just to urban forestry. I mean, there's so much inside of facilities maintenance.
There is. I mean, there's so many different, urban forestry, just all the different categories that we as professionals deal with. And then even in the class, like sitting down with people who worked open space, and I'm just coming from a city, just looking at what they're talking about, I'm just like, oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then vice versa, right? But it's really eye-opening. And if you're interested, I could definitely, let them know, and maybe we do it by year of class, just because I think all 3 years at once would be a lot, and probably like a 5-hour show.
Yeah, well, I've got 4 hours a week of content to fill, and just lining all that up is quite the undertaking. But yeah, I would love to give one of those days a week just to the program that y'all have. Some of the stuff I wrote down, I can just rattle it off. I've got turf management, water, which we spent an entire show talking about water, and we weren't even supposed to talk about that. We were supposed to talk about agronomy, but we talked about irrigation, drainage, watershed, runoff, and never got off of water. Then playground, aquatics, project management was huge, master planning, special events, because I have one guy told me that they really work 3 days a week on maintaining their facilities, because Fridays and Mondays are for setup and tear down on special events.
Oh my gosh.
His whole workforce is just slammed setting up for special events. So all the grass cut and everything else has to be done like Tuesday through Thursday. Then I have urban forestry, all the trades, dog parks, trails, all the facilities, the zoos, and then general park maintenance, the stuff that we kind of think about.
Right. That comes last sometimes.
Yeah. So now, what were the other 2 categories? You said, so year 1, go through those one more time. Year 1, year 2,
year 1 really focuses on understanding, what it takes to get one of those tasks done, the cost, efficiency, really how to just put your maintenance management plan together so that you can keep your resources at a top quality. Year 2 focuses more on, developing that budget, justifying the budget, public speaking and presentations. And then just, it's more on like the supervisory stuff. And then year 3.
How is that used, that public communication, or being able to speak to people, represent your department or your side of Parks and Rec?
So for this class in particular, you focus on putting together the PowerPoint and then presenting it, right? Mm-hmm. Presenting the information and then being able to answer questions. What we end up doing is, they'll present, and then, we'll talk about, hey, you said way too many times, or maybe, try to focus more on this type of information, and just giving them those pointers. One of the things that I like to do in my department is I will have each division put a PowerPoint together for what they do, what they cover and oversee. And then they'll have to get in front of the group and present it, because at any given moment we could get called to council and they need to provide this presentation. Mm-hmm. I especially like to do it when I have new staff coming in. This past year I was able to hire a new manager. I have a new deputy director coming in the next month or 2, so they'll have to redo these presentations, but it gives them a really great opportunity to practice, fine tune their skills on PowerPoint, and then also, their message delivery. And the new staff also get to really have that firsthand sit down on what it is they particularly cover. And instead of giving them this book on this is how this department works and what we offer, they can now ask questions while they're listening. They get to see pictures or videos. And it's just a better process, I think, for onboarding staff.
Yeah. And so then you were getting ready to say year 3.
And then year 3, we go more into the, you know, um, we still focus on public speaking, but it's more of the, you know, focus more on leadership and supervisory and how to get to that next level, whether you're wanting to be a manager or a director, city manager. We talk about ethics. We talk about, just those primary characteristics that a leader should have as they're making their adventure
Mhm.
to the next step. Um, that's definitely more of a, look inside. What are your thoughts on this? And then sharing it with the group.
Mhm.
But it's a really good class and it's a really great process. So
Now, what did you do to improve your public speaking? I guess, well, you're just thrown into the meat grinder, so you have to learn when you're a director. But was there
yeah,
anything else you learned aside from just on the job training?
I think it really came from just, special events and you're
Yeah.
just out there and you're having to talk to people. Um, trying to recruit volunteers and doing presentations at the school or trying to secure donations and doing presentations in front of those organizations. So for me, it was really trying to, while keeping programs, sustainable through donations or recruiting volunteers is where all of that really happened for me. Um, I definitely, I believe being in person is better. Hearing me talk about it is better than me writing you a letter.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where that happened for me.
Yeah. Okay, so, another tradition we kinda have on the show. Imagine you're sitting in front of an undecided group of college kids, don't know what they're gonna do with the rest of their life. Can you give a quick pitch or testimony to why they should maybe consider Parks and Recreation as a career path?
I definitely think everybody should come and volunteer in a Parks and Rec department so that one, you can see what it's, customer service at its finest. Because no matter where you're going to go, that's going to be something you have to offer, whether it's internal or external. I think, anybody in government should really start their career in Parks and Rec so that one,
Mhm,
you can understand, what it's like to be out in the public with the community, and then what it's like to be inside program plan, organize, get everything ready for, preparation of that product to go outside to those who are going to be receiving it. There's so much to learn from Parks and Recreation in general, but we use fun and creativity to get to where we want to go.
mm,
Um, so that's what I would say with that. And then, whatever you want to go into after that, if you don't stay in Parks and Rec, at least you'll have a solid foundation with customer service, interpersonal skills, organization, and planning. And that should help you get pretty far wherever else you decide to go, right?
oh, yeah, this is quite the university. Parks and Recreation prepares you for just about any
Just about
catastrophe that
anything.
can be thrown at you. Um, Now, do y'all have any type of internship program, or do y'all work with interns?
Um, I still have my certifications for recreation therapy, so I can house a rec therapy student.
Mhm,
We are trying to develop more collaborative relationships with the university so we can host those interns. Um, for our summer camp, we essentially started off with a volunteer program with our teens. And
mhm,
now this year, I've been blessed with the ability to hire temp staff for summer camp so that we can expand our hours in our program. And so, what we've done is those who volunteered the last year were now able to come on and be hired for the summer. And now they're getting these paid job skills opportunities. And so, hopefully at some point within the next couple of years, they'll be able to come in and be hired as, rec leaders or rec specialists, rec aides, and then transition into whatever their life's going to take them to. So we're starting stuff externally. Internally, I do some mentoring with my new hires. I
mhm,
usually make them come on and we do everything red tape for government so that they understand the who, what, when, and where, and why it moves the way it does.
mhm.
Um, and then I have them turn around and share that information and mentee those who are coming in as well. So
Oh, I love that. That's actually a great strategy because when you have to teach somebody something, you really gotta learn it.
yeah, yeah. And so there was 3 programmers that came on at one time and I was like, "Oh my God, how do I teach them everything?" So I had an agenda of topics and then after that I would take like, "Okay, what do you want to learn about today?" And then we would just go that way. And I think we did that for a solid year. But I mean, they are able to do their budget without any assistance. They're able to justify, do their presentations, all of those things, which makes my life easier. So,
Yeah. Okay, so now we've got our 2 questions that we have for you. This was left by Kim Bybee over in Carrollton, Texas, who did a great show yesterday. They are, in my opinion, I say opinion, by my assessment, they are probably the most advanced when it comes to deploying autonomous robotics inside
ooh,
there. I want to say they're up to like 15 autonomous robots, whether they're sprayers, mowers, and even have this massive 10-foot quadcopter that they're trying to get licensed to fly and spray stuff, but
oh
had
my
a
God.
great show. So anyway, they said, let's see, how do you engage your employees and create a positive culture in your Parks and Rec department? And then
Um,
the other one is, if you were a piece of playground equipment, what would it be and why?
okay. So for employee engagement, what I like to do is I think staff development is super important.
Mm,
I have 100 staff, so obviously paying for that is a lot and probably not possible. So what we've created internally is our own rec university, where every month we pick a different topic and the staff will come and teach those things. We offer it either in person or online, because if you're not scheduled, then you can't be a part of it, but you can go back and look at that recording. We invite people from outside the community to teach sessions. And then we hold our own internal training department-wide session where I'll bring in a variety of different speakers. Always try to build in some kind of team building opportunity so that within their teams they can, get stronger. And then obviously within the entire department, we can do a team building. I use a lot of color, a lot of confetti, a lot of glitter, just a lot of like fun, throw in a little bit of competition in there. The winner gets lunch, whatnot. That's really kind of how I go about employee engagement. We'll take information on, hey, what do you think are the relevant topics that they want to learn? Sometimes when they aren't putting a lot of energy, I get the processes and procedures. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to learn about adaptive programming, or this year we talked about in our annual training. We did a session with Chris from San Bernardino, and we did silent yoga.
mm,
And that was really cool. We also did, just a variety of things where we're up and playing and having fun, because that's what we need to portray to our community. So we try to focus like that every now and then. If we do rent laser tag, I'll call up the different divisions and I'll be like, hey, you guys all need to come over here at 10 o'clock. And they won't know what's happening. And I'll let them in and they'll do the laser tag because we have some leftover time from our rental,
mm.
and just do things like that. So fun, spontaneous, staff development, lots of color, lots of confetti.
I love it. Okay, so playground equipment, what would you be and why?
So I think in the inclusive playgrounds, the rollers, right? And the rollers used to be like used in UPS, or they are, where you send the package down to
Oh,
where it's supposed
yeah,
to
yeah.
go. That apparatus is awesome because it provides a variety of different things, right? It provides you motion, it provides you vibration, but you also have to be careful because you could get stuck. So you have to be alert and aware. And so I think to be operating on all senses to make sure you're going from point A to point B is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually, when I was in high school, I unloaded for one summer 18-wheelers, and we had those rollers that you're talking about. And once they get rolling, they have momentum in and of themselves, and they just take you away with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so what question would you like to leave for our next victim tomorrow?
Okay, so I think my question would be, because color is a big thing for me, and I think everything in a park deserves to look like a crayon box. What color would you be and why?
What color? In a crayon box, or just
In a
in a
crayon box.
what color would you be and why?
I think I would be like a magenta.
Why is
Just
why is that?
it's bright, it's not a
Mhm,
soft pink, it's a
mhm,
powerful color. It's, it's a happy color. Um, And there's a lot that you can do with it. Magenta goes
Mhm.
with a little bit of everything, whether it's
It
the
does.
teal or a brown or a black or a white. I just think it mixes well with a lot of things, and again, it's just bright and happy.
Right. I love it. I love your background, by the way.
Thank
I
you.
think you have to be a director, to get that background because I've sat in so many directors' office and it looks almost identical to yours. That
Was it my
hallmark.
husband says, "God, you don't even leave anything to the imagination for people to guess what it is you do." I was like,
Right.
"No, you should know as soon as I walk in what I do." So
That's
I
kinda
think
like
if I move over, you can see my
uh-huh.
bike,
Yep.
and then if I move over the other way, I have a whiteboard table.
I
So
love it.
as we're meeting, we can write down our notes or we can draw it out or whatever. But yeah,
And then you have to have a bookshelf of binders. That's, like,
binders
mandatory.
are my jam.
Fantastic. Well, Cynthia, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've enjoyed you sharing your story with us, and especially everything you've learned and taught me even about what we offer, or at least what California offers people in facilities maintenance. If you can help me get plugged into that, I'd love to offer y'all just one of those days, and I will run the whole thing, do all the back end production. If y'all just want to help get that content out to America, I'd be more than happy to kind of help boost that signal.
Absolutely. I'll definitely connect with the team and let them know and then get back to you on that. And then just, I want to plug really quick.
Sure.
Rialto is working on just revamping our park spaces and bringing a lot of color. If you haven't already, check out our Rialto City Park courts. They were
Mm,
redone in these crazy colors that aren't normal for tennis, pickleball, or basketball. But the community loves them, and just the way that they're reacting to them is amazing. So,
yeah. Well, if you have any little short videos or pictures, I'm getting ready to put you in a group chat with some of our creatives, videographers. It'll either be Kathleen or Chris or Hannah, one of those three. But they'll create y'all a little 1 minute or 2 minute commercial, and then you can put that on your Facebook page or just do what
okay,
you want with it. But if you have anything that y'all have captured, they can incorporate in that.
okay, sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on today. Have an
Thank
awesome
you.
week.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. Take care.
Okay, bye bye.
All right, so that was another great episode with our leadership series. Cynthia's doing a great job over there. So she was one of the people that actually ran Palm Springs, California, 200 special events a year that now Nick's in charge of, and she was doing that during COVID. That's such a great first year story. Within a year, she's managing COVID through Parks and Rec system. So that's just fantastic. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff coming up this week. We've got a great show, like I said, with the Youth Sports Mastery. We also have a good show this Friday for the young professionals in Parks and Recreation. Those are two weekly shows. The Youth Sports Mastery is every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. with Aaron Locks. And then we also have our 52 shows a year every Friday, 12 noon for our young professionals. So if you are a young professional or if you're an association that does something for young professionals, we're looking to kind of give a platform for y'all to just speak on and tell us what you're doing. Also, if you have an internship program that you're proud of, we'd love to have you on the show just to tell us about your internship program. Maybe if you have a few interns that are working with you right now, it could be you and one of your interns. Shout out to Molly Keys. That's exactly what she did. We've got a couple others that are in the works to do the same. It's just their director saying, here's our intern. Here's what that first year looks like. Here's kind of what we think. We get one every semester. So really just trying to highlight all the work that's done. And then there's several state associations that now have YPN similar to NRPA, but it's for the state. I know Texas has one, Florida has one. There's probably, if I had to guess, maybe about 15 or 20 states that are already in their second or third year of a young professionals network. So Friday is your show. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. We'd love to highlight anything you're doing for young professionals and just get them on stage so that we can just get that content out there that's really geared towards being. And when I say young professionals, you don't have to already be working in Parks and Rec, even though that is a category that fits in that group. You can be a high schooler or a college kid that's doing an internship program. So all that fits in that young professionals, along with if you're a teacher or professor that's teaching or mentoring young professionals. Friday's your show. Okay, so that's all we have for today. Thank y'all for attending the show, and we will see y'all here again tomorrow. It's Craig LeBlanc, the doorman, signing off. Y'all have a great day. Love you guys. Bye. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.